Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's GSD Talks. And we have got with us as our special and powerhouse guest, Kristen Leonardson, who is the Vice President, Managed Risk Services at Crisis 24. Kristen, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And thank you all so much for, first of all, inviting me on, but second of all the work that you've done in the past year. I think one of the things that I've really noticed is, especially with the kindness games, when everything else was going on with COVID and a lot of people were, kind of trapped at home, different kind of work aspect, I really think that your team went above and beyond to highlight and showcase, almost to an annoying point some days, Lee, where you tag 73 people in one tag. But I really appreciate everything you're doing. And I think it's appreciated in the industry, and it also is, you're trapped. So thank you.
Hey, Kristen, you are too special, too kind. I think I lost everyone for a little bit. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. I hope so. So I'm just going to turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone because I don't want to mess up with this recording. So if you just wait with me 2 seconds. Yeah, thank you for your kindness. About the kindness games, GSD Talks is one of our favorite sessions that we love to get involved, and we love to bring on industry champions like yourself. And as it's International Women's Day, what a perfect day to bring you up as this kind of mesmerizing powerhouse for all women. I know a lot of women are inspired by your journey and your story. And I was certainly super impressed when the first time we met in Las Vegas back at the IPSB in 2019, I think it was.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we haven't been able to go back yet, but I know that is on the horizon, and everybody is looking forward to some in-person interactivity.
Absolutely. And also thank you for hosting and co-hosting an event down in Mexico City with GSD and IPSB. I think it was a great event. Again, trying to help people network and get out and just get the word out professionally to make sure that we're all still staying connected and we all still have the ability to talk about things that are really important to our profession.
The pleasure is all mine on that, and I loved that Chris Story actually came over and represented IPSB, and we got a very small kind of gathering together, and it was I was kind of humbled and a lot of admiration for the courage that people actually showed to be there on that day. We did, just for the audience that's listening, we were extremely safe. People were tested, temperature checks. So, we made sure that all of the relevant precautions were put into place. And on top of that, we had such, a wonderful audience interaction. The panel was great, all the information shared, and we had some amazing feedback. So the pleasure was entirely all mine. But I can't wait to get back to Vegas. One, I miss Vegas, and two, it's great to get into, with a big crowd and really share so many stories. Anyway, without me doing much more talking, otherwise I will command this call as always. I would like to be a gentleman and ask my fellow GSDer, Lisa, to ask her questions to Kristen first of all, so that we can get this going. So Lisa, I will hand the mic over to you.
That's very generous of you, Lee. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Kristen, it's so nice to see you. We have not had the pleasure of meeting in person yet, but I am looking forward to that since we are in the same area.
It sounds like we're almost neighbors.
I think we are.
I'm really physically get coffee sometime.
Yes, I would love that. And so since I have the honor of asking the first question, when I was kind of taking a peek at your background, Kristen, and just learning more about your career, I noticed that you started your current position in January of 2020. And so I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk a little bit about how you managed a successful transition and started building those relationships while we were, in the middle of this pandemic, and you're so new to the company. So I'd love to start there.
Yes. So actually, I started January 2nd last year, and was in the office about 6-7 weeks, and suddenly it was COVID and everybody gets to go home. And then during the summer, World Aware, which was acquired by Garda World International and Garda Federal, the World Garda family, we're now Crisis 24. And so we're part of the Crisis 24 family, along with FAM International, along with John Cusack, along with MYA, all these companies that you're very familiar with from before. The really amazing part is I have a team of over 70 intelligence analysts worldwide. So not only starting a new job, but trying to learn all my new employees, trying to learn everything new about the company was pretty challenging. I am super lucky. I had a great support system within the company. The legacy company was over 20 years old. If anyone knows Legacy iJet, which is kind of where everything came from. And so lots of SOPs, lots of procedures already in place. And of course we go through and review and revise as analysts and look at everything. But a lot of really great infrastructure and amazing, amazing people. Also given the autonomy by the management there to kind of run my team as I see fit. And I've got 13 fantastic managers on my team that are helping manage all these different folks and teams and with clients all over the world. So for me, being able to really trust my managers and being able to understand really quickly, their personalities, their needs. I'm a good old fashioned pick up the phone person. So if I don't know an answer, I'm not going to email you and wait for 20 minutes or wait for, so long. I used to work at the FBI. You don't email people, you just walk over to their desk and talk to them. But with COVID, we can't do that. So I think they're all sick of me calling them all the time because that was just the easiest, fastest way to communicate. We actually did a couple morale events where we started doing a weekly trivia with prizes, just to kind of get everybody in and loosen up and stop talking about work, but also, get some face time with everyone and just be able to kind of network and learn more about each other as we kind of went through. So that's always been really great. It's been really difficult, but the way I hate to say manage because you lead people, you don't manage people, right? But I have an open door, open office, open door, open computer policy. Anytime anyone wants to talk about anything, just let me know. Send me an email or put time on the calendar. But I believe in a lot of transparency. So as a career intelligence analyst, you disseminate all the intel. It doesn't do you any good to keep intel. So I pretty much have a lot of transparency with the team. They know what's going on. I know what's going on with them. So I think that really helps build trust very quickly. So just a lot of really great factors with the existing team, the existing structure, and then being able to get people on board really quickly with, here's what we're doing, not making a lot of changes and scaring people, but for the most part, just trying to get them comfortable with where we're moving and getting some buy-in. So I think that was super helpful.
I love that. And I think you even touched on some of those areas of like, how not just building the trust, but also how you are preventing burnout and, really building those relationships, which will pay off, especially since it sounds like you're going to have a full plate in the coming weeks as you transition to Crisis 24. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I do have some additional questions, but I don't want to monopolize. So Lee, do you want me to pass over to Matthew to ask a couple of his questions?
Oh, that's so kind of you. Yeah, let's do that. Matt, do you want to jump on in and fire some questions over Kristen?
Yes. Thank you, Lisa, and I will gently hand them over. I don't fire. Let me put it that way. And Kristen, yes, also it's a pleasure. I know, as we said before this recording, you and I are actually on the executive protection community together with ASIS. So yes. It's always nice. And also, with a very impressive background, it's, the pleasure's all mine and obviously us on the call as well. I love the fact that you also are like me in a sense that I can't stand it where you have to wait for an email to come back. I mean, in our field, we need an answer. And sometimes misinterpretations through email, and also too your open door policy, because transparency absolutely is something that, as far as I can definitely attribute to, is that you get more respect with transparency than trying to hide behind the guise of the tough guy or gal mentality. And it's and also I guess based on all the successes you've had, and again, you had quite a lot, and I could see definitely with successes comes challenges. So challenges, everybody deals with it in a different way. Some people, they lean on their family. Some people, they have hobbies. Other people, they just keep working, to get their mind off it. What do you personally feel was your saving grace or medium that kept you grounded and on this path, this very impressive path of, or, especially, you mentioned, with your work with the FBI and whatnot?
Well, I would like to think that my career, everyone says, oh, it's successful. Like, it's really just a series of dumb luck and right place, right time. I think that there's a couple of things that kind of help me stay grounded. Definitely my sisters are the funniest people I know. So whenever I do something stupid, they will not let me forget it. I get teased constantly. Even when I have something great come out, they're like, oh, well, who did you pay to get that done? So it's always really good with that. Plus they're super successful in their own right. My one sister is a environmental engineer. My other sister has a PhD in mathematics. I don't know what that means because I'm not into science, but having both of them in my life, being kind of my best friends, but also we're competitive against each other. So we kind of do help prop each other up. I have some fantastic friends from when I started in the private sector. I met another intelligence analyst at an FBI training of all things. And so I've been in a private sector intelligence group for a number of years and made some fantastic friends there. And really, they were my network when I first started to help me understand and transition really quickly. It is kind of difficult transitioning from the government, military, law enforcement into the private sector. And there's a lot of people that do it really, really, really well, but it can be very challenging. So I luckily had all these other analysts to lean on. One of them in particular was Scott Jonesy with Amazon. If anyone does or does not know him, I would suggest you meet him because he's fantastic. I think another thing is just being able to know where I wanted to go and to know where I wanted to be. I don't know if a lot of people don't know this about me, but I got pregnant with my son when I was 16. So I was a teenage mom. I almost didn't graduate high school. So having my 26-year-old son and always knowing very early that I had to be successful, there was no choice. It wasn't just me, it was us. And he is a fantastic young man, and he's, whip smart and super funny. And, having him kind of keep me grounded on all of these things moving forward. Plus, when you get pregnant at 16, you're kind of like, okay, what else can you throw at me, life? Because I can get through this, I can get through anything else. So I think just kind of level setting, whenever I get into a new situation, it's like, I've been through worse, it's fine.
That was beautifully said. Thank you for sharing, Kristen. Yeah, and I think it's tough with 3 kids, but it's just that's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that.
It gets much old as soon as they can drive. Your life will be so much easier.
They think they can drive. My oldest is 5, so I don't think that.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta hide the keys. So Lee, I mean, do we want to go back with Lee? We'll go back and forth. Lisa,
Yeah.
You want to?
Yeah, I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll jump in with a question. And I just wanted to, did anybody else see Kristen's cape kind of flapping in the background when she told us that she'd had, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, now that I know that you had a son at 16, that makes you even more impressive. And I take my hat off to you for the journey that you've been on and everything. So that's really where I want to go with my question, is because the first time I met you, I was super impressed and inspired. And I know that you inspire a lot of women within the industry and young professionals. And I think it's very important. I've done a lot of conversations about mentorship, teamwork, and that togetherness. So is there any kind of advice or secret source snippets that you'd like to share with the young audience or seasoned professionals? I don't just want to pick out one specific demographic, but just anything that you could share that would really kind of inspire them and let them take away a little pearl of wisdom from you today.
So I think one of the things that I wish I would have done earlier in my career was, especially coming in through the government, when the government, you don't really get promotions, you don't really get job increases unless, there's just kind of a step program you have to get through. And so with the government, you get your promotion when you get your promotion, and you take it and you have to like it. And that's just how it is. So when I got to the private sector, I thought, well, I'll just work really hard and people will notice. And I think I should have fought a little harder for some of my titles and some of my promotions over the years. I think that what I try to do with my team now is, oh my gosh, don't tell HR, they're going to hate me. When I try to bring analysts in, I try to bring them in as high on the scale as I can bring them in, Because what I want them to do is understanding their career, that the more money you make earlier in your career, the more money you're going to make later. When we're looking at promotions, it's really, do they go way above and beyond to do this? So a lot of times what I'll tell them to do is, say you're a level 2 and you want to get to a level 3, start working at a level 3. I need to see that you've got I need to see that you've got the grit. I need to see that you've got the ability, and I've got to see that you've got the fortitude and the knowledge to get to that level and start working at that level, because then it also makes it a lot easier for someone to promote you, right? I think kind of making the industry better. Obviously, less BS. I think everyone just kind of needs to go through. And again, I'm terribly honest to the point where people tell me to shut up because I'm probably saying things I don't want to hear. But I do think that being transparent, being honest, coming at things with sincerity and gratitude are really important in this industry. It is kind of the security industry can be a little macho at times, which is fantastic. I think you have to have a certain level of confidence, but not arrogance. But I think also looking around and seeing who I can help, because I did have people help me and they were fantastic. And so when I look around and say, okay, how can I help someone else? What can I give them? That also is fulfilling to me. There's times in your career when you're going to be like, okay, this is great, but it's kind of same old, and you want to mix it up and everything. But when you're helping someone else get their career off and going, like that's really fulfilling also.
I love everything you shared there. And again, I think that just showcases the character that you are, that you have this willingness to accelerate someone else's career. And I think, taking aside some human resources personnel that may be kind of cringing a little bit, if you think about it on the flip side is, by accelerating someone else's career and helping them, you're actually helping the organization. You're giving that exponential added value. So a lot of times, I think we need to, look past the red tape and the bureaucracy, think outside of the box, and what really genuinely helps both sides of the fences. So I love that you've done that. I love your transparency, and I really appreciate you sharing that with the audience. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Lisa, I will send the mic back to you. What is your next question?
Actually, Kristen, I think I'd like to ask you one of the questions that our colleague, John Harris, who really wanted to be here today for this call. So you alluded to earlier about transitions, and it sounds like you have such a varied and amazing background. And so I think John was going to ask something along the lines of, could you talk a little bit more specifically about any challenges that you faced in transitioning during your career? I think that would be of interest to a lot of people watching. It's definitely of interest to me, seeing that you worked in so many different sectors and whatnot. So would love to hear any thoughts that you have to share on that.
Yeah, so I think that with transitioning, I've been really fortunate, and usually security companies, security groups, if you're working in corporate security, private security, EP, whatever you're working in, you get the least amount of resources than anyone else in the company. It is what it is. You always have to fight for your budget. You're always overworked and understaffed. So I've actually been really fortunate to be on some really small teams. And then I have this terrible habit of never saying no. So when someone says, do you want to lead a GSOC, or do you want to do facility assessments, or do you want to be on an executive protection team? My answer is sure, how hard could it be? So suddenly I've got 75 jobs. But the good news is that I think that by just taking on those opportunities as they came up, I've learned so much, and you're forced to learn it really quickly. And so I think that that's kind of one of the things that really has helped with transitioning, but then also having those networks, having those folks you can reach back to. Like I talked about the private security, or the private intelligence security group, those folks. So immediately it was like, okay, crap, now I have to build a GSOC. Who's done this? And you're already talking to people that can give you the information and say, okay, I screwed this up, don't do this. So that's super important. The other piece is having some really, really great mentors. And I've had some fantastic mentors, and I've had some terrible mentors, which is why the ASIS mentor committee is super important to me, because I want people to get a good mentor that helps them get to where they want to be in their career. One of the mentors that I had, actually, I asked Ray O'Hara, and if you don't know Ray O'Hara, you should know Ray O'Hara, because he's amazing and he knows everybody. I asked Ray a couple of years ago when we were starting IPSB if he would be my mentor, because IPSB was kind of our new baby, our new brainchild in the industry of kind of how to put this professionally develop and professionalize the executive protection industry. So I asked Ray, who do I need to meet? Who do I need to talk to? And I don't want to talk to the CSO. I don't want to talk to the chief security officer. He's already got his job. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He wants to, have a great career and ride off into the sunset. So I asked Ray, who's the next two guys down? Who's the guy under the CSO? Who's the guy who's going to get promoted after him? And try to get buy-in from some of those folks. So I think it's really understanding who's who in the industry and asking for help when you need it, but also strategically kind of leveraging what you can do to help you get to that next level and help you transition better. And with IPSB, it was something new we were bringing to the industry. We were all super excited about it, but we had to get buy-in, and getting buy-in from sometimes some, EP guys and security guys is difficult. So it was really, who can we influence? Who can we talk to that's going to be a better influencer to help us kind of get all this buy-in? So strategically, sometimes I'm a little crafty.
Hey, sounds good. So I heard so many good takeaways from that. So put your hand up and volunteer to take on things that might be outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Get a good mentor. Don't be afraid to ask to expand your network. And then you said something too about the mentors that I've been thinking about recently, which is, and I love that ASIS has revamped their mentoring program. Yes. So excited about that, signed up, ready to go. But you did touch on something about that not all mentorship partnerships are good or effective. And I think that's something in the future. So maybe Lee and Matthew, we should think about this for a GSD fails talk, is really when you've gone through an unsuccessful mentoring pair, how does that make you grow, et cetera. So I love that you brought that up, because I don't think we talk about that enough. And people are well-intentioned, but it's not always as successful. And I think it makes us ultimately stronger mentors when we engage in future partnerships. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, and we do have I put together a couple mentoring programs. So the ASIS EPC one is the newest one, but before that I did one for ARIP also. And part of the clause was, if at any time someone is not comfortable in either side of the mentor relationship, the larger committee will terminate it for you. Because sometimes it's hard to break up with people. It's hard to professionally break up with people. But if it's not going well, or you're a clash of personalities or a clash of ideas, you shouldn't stay in a bad relationship, whether it's a personal or professional or mentor or anything along those lines. You have to put up with your children. You're legally obligated. But other than that, you should not have to stay in any sort of a bad relationship. And so, a lot of times when we are mentoring, we do put that clause in there that, Lisa, you're not comfortable with, the way the relationship is going with Lee. Maybe we need to terminate that for you.
Such a good point. Thank you.
Can I just jump in and add to that, ladies? And I think mentorship is probably one of the most important topics that we don't really talk too much about. And myself, Tim and Phelan did a Human Side of Security episode on mentorship just last week. And one of the key, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, because I enjoyed doing it. And I think one of the key things that I wanted to express in that session was make sure that, as you guys have both just said, get the right mentors, get the right, pair the mentee with the mentor. And it's like I said on the session, is there are a lot more book smart security professionals out there than me, right? Yeah, I know my staff and I can communicate it very well, but I have a different style, and my style of mentorship is not being like, you must do this A through Z. Mine is very different. I'm very charismatic. I'm very self-confident, in your face, and that may not work for everybody. And that is the key, right? So I think that you have to ask those hard questions straight away so that you don't walk down that path and it ends up being a real bad train wreck, right?
Right. And I think one of the questions that I usually ask is, and I ask a lot of not only the folks on my team, but some of obviously my boss, when I met my new boss, how do you learn and how do you like to be communicated with? Because at this point, after your 30s, you should know how you learn. Do you need to repetition? Do you need to, go through steps A through B? Do you have to look at a diagram? Those kinds of things. And then also, how do you like to be communicated with? Do you like emails? Do you want a phone call? What's your preferred way? because I think that that really brings a lot to the understanding and the success of communication in a mentorship or even in a working relationship.
I love it. I love how we really broadened out that topic too. So well done to everybody. And yeah, it's really poignant. So we need to talk about it more. Mr. Matthew, can we go back to you for some questions from you?
Well, firstly, a comment. Thank you, everybody, for all these interjections. I mean, they're definitely, because we're always, everybody thinks that, we're all experts and we've reached our peak, but it goes hand in hand with the transparency, because nobody wants to talk about the bad mentor relationship that they've had. Yeah. And I think that that's very important, because, like, again, on face value, I could look at, Kristen, Lisa, and Lee and say, wow, these guys, and you are all success stories. But it hasn't been a smooth path. That I do know. That, and nobody wants to talk about that. That's why everybody, at least from what I see, is like, oh, I've had a mentor, and it's been like, oh, such, it's almost like Hollywood, it's like the tough mentor that then grew on the mentee, and and so forth. But unfortunately, that is not always the case, because there is lack of, Kristen, as you said, transparency. And I think that that's something that's extremely pertinent, especially when it comes to mentoring, which actually also leads on to the next question, as far as, and Lee touched on it, perfectly with, young security professionals, in the field, also those that are transitioning as well. Security, no matter what gamut you look at or what end of the spectrum, whether it be IT, the guarding industry, the proprietary CSOs or whatnot, prior to actually seeking security as a field, we know that there's not a lot of young people that are going into college, university, or saying, I want a position in security. Because years ago, everybody thought of Paul Blart. And, being somebody that works on the private security spectrum and wants to do this for a career and is doing this for a career, I find that extremely insulting. Yeah. So what advice, Kristen, would you give to those, you mentor, or those that you come across, that are those young, hungry security professionals, or those transitioning, maybe, let's say, out of law enforcement, to show that that's not what security is about? How do we get out of that negative light, that negative stereotype, that unfair stereotype of that Paul Blart, let's say, mentality?
I think there's a lot of different groups out there, and I tell people to always network and talk to people. And it has been much more challenging in this past year, not being able to physically network with people. And network does mean, make sure you get rid of all your business cards. I had a young man years ago who was so super shy, but he was about 6'4", and so he's trying to hide in the corner. And I challenged him. I'm like, you go out there. I'm like, I'm giving you 45 minutes. I'm like, you need to go meet enough people to get rid of all your business cards. And also get business cards from people. And then I want to hear about your conversations. So it is a little more challenging this way. I have told people, definitely get involved on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a fantastic venue to put things out there professionally. And, you shouldn't just cut and paste an article and repost it, right? Like that's something. What you should do is you should read the article and you should make a couple points about it and then put that out to your network and engage in conversation, ask other people what they think about the article and your points about the article, and challenge them with their points too, respectfully. I think another thing is there are some actually really fantastic schools now. So Embry-Riddle, it's an aeronautical university. Mercyhurst out of Pennsylvania, they have these intelligence programs where these young professionals are coming out of the box, ready to go, and they are fantastic. And so I would say the intelligence analyst field from when I started 22 years ago, up until now has just exploded. When I started, there were probably a couple thousand of us, and now I would definitely say there are tens of thousands of us worldwide, in a lot of different fields. So I think that you can have a really successful, prestigious career in security. And I think that it's also fun. Now, if you want to make a lot of money, this might not be the career for you. You might want to go into accounting or day trading or something, or doctor, something along those foots. But you can have a really fulfilling career. And the other thing is, I think a lot of folks coming out of the military and coming out of law enforcement and transitioning, or young professionals transitioning, you're still helping people. You're still protecting people. And I think that was one of the hardest mindsets for me when I left the FBI to get into the private sector, because the mission was so different. Like the mission with the FBI was like, I'm putting people in jail. I'm putting bad guys in jail. And then in the private sector, it's like, I'm helping travelers in India, which it sounds way different, but you still have the opportunity to affect people and protect people and to make their day-to-day safer. And you have to take a lot of pride in that. So I think that those are really good ways to do it, but definitely doing more networking, joining groups, joining ASIS, joining ARIP if you're in Intel, joining any of the communities, getting mentors, looking at your local chapters. Should you get a professional certification? Should you not? That's really up to you and where you want to go with your career and the career path you want. For me, with what I do, it wasn't necessarily necessary. It wasn't necessary, but I do think that, additional education is never going to kill anybody. So.
No, that's great. And there was no such thing as a wasted education, Kristen.
No.
Kristen, I'm calling you Kristen. Kristen. And, thank you for saying, bring up the whole certification part, because I know, and again, my colleagues and my friends on this call, all of us can attest to, there are a lot of get-rich-quick certifications. I can just make one up right now. I could be a counterterrorism specialist, I don't know, whatever sounds cool. I've seen some LinkedIn profiles with 26 letters after their names. Now, there's nothing wrong with being proactive. But again, that's what goes back to the mentorship. If I come to Kristen, I come to Lisa, I come to Lee, do I need a counterterrorism underwater submarine degree? Maybe not right now. I mean,
I actually told a young lady to get her, I told one of the young ladies that I work with to actually get her PMP, which is your project management certification.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there is an actual underwater submarine security.
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there is. It's something. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were saying.
But no, she was saying, should I get the ASIS CPP? And if you have it, it is tough. ATAP, which is the Association of Threat Assessment Professionals, also has really tough. She's not sure she wants to stay in security for the rest of her career. I encourage her to get her PMP. It's project management. You're going to need that wherever you go.
Right.
So I think it's just really thinking about, where do you want your career to go? Not just the quickie, do I need to get this to get the next step up, but what are you interested in long term?
And there's a lot of ad hoc work. You mentioned that. That's actually that's really, especially in the EP. A lot of people, and I'm sure, a lot of people feel that EP is executive protection. There's a lot of full time come out of it, but it's not a again, we all know how diverse it is. So the PMP would definitely. I mean, I think I saw that through SIA, the Security Industry Association, ASIS. A lot of these, more well-known ones, but the worst is when somebody would spend a ridiculous amount of money for a certification that really doesn't do anything. So
the other thing is, I've had people, because when I worked at the FBI, I'd had a lot of younger college students and professionals come to me and say, oh, I want to work for the FBI. Should I study Chinese? And I'm like, do you like Chinese? Do you learn languages well? And they're like, no, not really. I'm like, then don't do that. Like, don't bring down your grade point average. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money learning something that you don't like. Right. So, think about what'll get you to that point in your career. But if you are terrible at math, don't take math classes. I mean, eventually you're probably gonna need a couple math classes. That's probably important. But you shouldn't try to learn Cantonese if you don't want to sit in a room and translate all day long. It's just a bad idea.
So you've actually led me down the path where I want to go with your answers. So that's absolutely fantastic. You must have been reading my mind. And I think, again, you've shown to the audience why we were so excited about having you on here, because of all the gold that you're sharing with them, and the importance or the relevance of where they want to go with their careers. Where are they at right now with their journey? What have they learned from their previous failings and mistakes? I think that's really the important. So where I'm going to go with this, Kristen, is this: 2 questions. 1, what makes you passionate and excited about the industry? And 2, where can we make the industry better?
Okay, so I think, first of all, what makes me passionate and excited is obviously teams like your team, the GSD team. It's IPSB, it's ATAP, it's the teams that are out there that are looking to promote, professionalize, improve, but also not just for themselves. Like, you're looking to make a dent in the industry, period. And years and years ago, when I was working for the FBI, I got really discouraged because I was working gangs of narcotics. So you arrest 20 people and there's 24 new people the next day. And it was a little disheartening to sit there and go, I just worked for 2 years and I didn't even make a dent. And I did have one of the agents I worked at the time, and she said, you can only control what's in your sphere of control. And so I think that that really applies to a lot of people's lives. I think that, you know, you always want to have like these ground sweeping gestures in the industry and hope that you can leave something that has a legacy. Dial it back a little bit, figure out how you can help a few different people. I think putting together the mentor program so other people can be mentored. I think the people that I have mentored, that's really meant a lot to me. I'm passionate about helping the next person. I'm passionate about having people connect. I'm passionate about being able to have a good experience for everyone. I think that, you know, security is very serious, but at the same time, we you know, we can still have a good time. We can still, you know, be on a personal level, talk about our experiences, have a good, you know, have fun. I think the IPSB conference in Vegas is one of those things, which I hope you all are coming to. And, you know, it's a way to promote, professionalize, and then have a drink, shoot the shit. Oh, am I supposed to, I can't swear. I'm so
Kristen, you can say what you want. So please, okay, if you want to drop some F-bombs, then do it.
I'm surprised I haven't yet. So, but no, I think that what makes me excited is seeing other people get excited. Honestly, IPSB is a labor of love. I mean, it's all voluntary. You know this is what your group is doing. But when I see people come in, you know, 9 o'clock Saturday morning, after I know they've been out drinking Friday night, and they stay all day on Saturday, and we're going over, and everyone's still staying. And then afterwards, everyone wants to sit in the bar and talk and have drinks and just keep talking about security and about executive protection. That is so worth it to me. I'm exhausted. My jaw hurts from smiling. I'm out of money by the end of the conference. But it's exciting to me that it's infectious and it makes other people excited about their careers and other people that they work with. So I think, to me, I actually feed off other people's professionalism and excitement and their passion. I think that really means a lot to me, regardless of how many hours it is and how exhausted we are by the end of it. And it's a fantastic team, but we're doing it. You know, but by the end of it, it's awesome to see everybody there. It's awesome to see everybody still engaged, asking good questions, excited, you know, third day in at 8 o'clock at night. It's still really cool.
I ask those questions purposely because I want the audience to see you. And that's what, for me, that's what our industry should be. Everybody should see us, and we should be encouraging the young professionals, seasoned professionals, any professional within our industry to share their voices, to be themselves. You know, at the end of the day, enjoy it. If we're not passionately excited about what we do, then we're not going to learn anything. We're not going to take anything away. Nothing's going to be fun. It's going to be mundane. So, it was a purposeful question from my side.
Okay,
I just, because I love the audience to see you, you know, and I love the kind of tag phrase now, how can we help? And your answer just proved to me and to everybody else that's going to be watching this is why we do it. And this is why we want to help you. We don't do it for ourselves. We do it for you.
We do it for, you have to do it for the person next to you. And I think that's kind of you know, with IPSB, we've always tried to say like fraternity. Obviously it's more than fraternity. It's fraternity and sorority. But it's you're doing it for you, but you're also doing it for the guy next to you. Because the better we all get, you know, what do they say? Steel sharpens steel. You know, rising tide raises all ships. So whatever sort of military analogy you want to put in, you know, we're only going to get all better together. And I had a good friend who years ago I said, oh, you should come out to the conference. And I've been doing this 30 years. I'm not going to learn anything. I challenged him. Okay, fine. You won't learn anything. Get your ass on stage. Maybe you can teach somebody something. How about that?
You know, I love a challenge, and that's what it's all
Yes.
about. Let's challenge, let's encourage. And you know, when we say challenge, we're not trying to embarrass people. We just want them to take that leap of faith, right? We just want to encourage that, because we know, again, that is the learning gold for them. You know, if they just push themselves that one little extra mile, then we know how much they're going to get, the audience going to get, and the whole community is going to receive from just taking that one extra, you know, kind of element of risk. It's super cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Lisa, would you like to ask any more questions?
I have one more question, because Kristen was here talking about encouraging others to develop, and I know you have 22 years of experience, so I think our audience would probably want to know, how do you figure out what you want to do next for your own professional development? Are there any certifications or programs that caught your eye and that you think you could still learn more from engaging in?
Oh my gosh, everything. Like there's no way you can ever know everything. But what I try to do is, again, like I'm not, you know, I'm not going to learn Chinese because it's really challenging. So the things that I think are interesting to me, the things that kind of are a crossover between some of my personal interests, but professional interests. Right now, I mean, with my team, we do a lot of, we're very client facing. It is an organization that we provide intelligence to our clients. And so for me, it's been a lot about learning about the back end of the business and business development. And so that's kind of stuff that I'm doing in my own time. I'm probably not going to go get an MBA. However, because I've actually looked at it, it wouldn't make a whole, I mean, not that it's not, again, no wasted education, but the time and money versus what it would actually add to my salary. So I've been doing some master classes. I've been doing some, you know, online stuff that's a little bit cheaper, just to kind of go through and understand a little bit more about the speak of the business and what they're talking about and the ways that I can add more value. And so learning more about marketing, learning more about what the different marketing teams and the different sales teams do. So this way I can better support them when they're going out and doing this kind of business development. And then also working with my team on that. So what kind of ideas do they have? Because they're brilliant analysts and managers, and asking them a little bit more about what they want to do next. So I think for me, it's kind of I'm always looking to see what's next. I don't necessarily know. I'm very happy with where I am now. I mean, Crisis 24 is a fantastic company. We get a lot of support, and I do feel very lucky to be where I am. So, you know, everything that I'm doing is to kind of, you always want to get to the next level, but the next level doesn't always mean professionally. It doesn't always mean a promotion. It doesn't always mean a title increase. I think what the group and I have done with IPSB is huge, and I take a lot of professional pride in that. Helping the ASIS executive protection community get the mentor program off the ground, like that's huge for me too. So there's these other, you know, things that I'm doing that, is it ever going to make me more money or anything along those lines? No, but I take a lot of professional pride in it. And so for me, giving back at this point is kind of where I am with my career.
Thanks so much. I think that's really inspiring, and just hearing how you're pushing that. So I know others will definitely appreciate that as well. So thanks to you, Kristen, and thanks, Lee. I think I'm through all my questions here.
Yeah, I think Kristen just dropped the mic, right? I think that was, yeah, for just to, yeah, where I want to go out, yeah, I really want to kind of close out this amazing session, but I really want to kind of leave the audience with a huge impact, because a lot of the, you know, the stories, the journeys, the tips that you've shared on this today, you've really showcased, you know, what a servant leader you really are. And I want to pick up on something you said at the end. I think a lot of times we're fixated about doctorates, MBAs, certifications, when in retrospect, we can just invest in ourselves as human beings as well, to, you know, to really bring ourselves to the next kind of phase of our life or the next phase of our careers. So that's what I would kind of say to a lot of people out there that are listening to this, is that, you know, where you were going with the conversation is, hey, the MBA doesn't really add value to where I am right now, who I am and where I want to go. yet what you're doing is you're investing in your people. You're unleashing the talent within your team. And for me, that's the money. That's the real gold. That's where, if any leader that's watching this, or any young professional that wants to understand how to be a good leader, that's where you should be going. You should be inspiring and empowering that talent that you have within your team. So for me, Kristen, I want to close this out and say, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? Is there any other stories, journeys that you want to tell, or just a message that you want to shout out to everybody?
Thanks for putting me on the spot with that one. I think one of the other things is to also realize your limitations, because I did talk a little bit about, I would take on all these things, and then now I've got 4 different groups that I'm working in, plus working full time and everything else. And luckily it's very COVID-y outside still, so I'm not going anywhere, really doing anything. But I have hit my limits over the years. So definitely know where you can add value, definitely know where you can, have a good impact. But also, take care of yourself personally, take care of your relationships, your personal relationships, your family, take a dog for a walk. I think that there's everybody gets really excited about being busy all the time. And I think this past year's given everybody really an opportunity to slow down a little bit. And so when we do get back to being busy, just remember to do those things to take care of yourself. And also it's good to take on new opportunities, but know your limits. Definitely know your limits.
I don't think I can add anything else to that.
Thank you so much.
I think you're awesome. And I know that, so many people respect you. I commend you. I thank you for everything that you do, and for how much you volunteer to make the industry a bigger and better place. Lisa, is there any other comments that you'd like to share?
You said it perfectly, Lee.
Awesome. So ladies and gents, and to the audience, we're going to close out this GSD Talks with Kristen Leonardson, the Vice President, Managed Risk Services at Crisis 24. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everything you do in the industry, and a little more kindness has never hurt anybody. So thank you.
Oh, kindness counts. Thank you very much for that, Kristen.
Okay.
Superstar. Thank you.